Hello and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included. Let's play episode 154. So today I want to talk a little bit more about DLC ideas because this is going to be a little bit of a filler episode. We're going to be mostly just sort of waiting for a lot of things to get done. And so as I kind of do these chores around the base, before we can really get into the fun stuff, which is designing new systems, I want to talk about a new DLC idea that I have. We talked about nuclear technology and we talked about mechs. The next thing that I think is kind of an obvious, I mean, I don't know, I thought this one would be in the game sort of a long time ago, but they ended up going in some other interesting directions like rocketry and stuff like that. So, you know, they went in a good direction, but the thing that I was expecting to see in the game at some point was biotechnology, right? In particular, cloning, DNA, this sort of thing, because you're playing a game where all of your little guys, your little characters, are clones, right? And a lot of the sort of the lore of the game, right? The things that you like, you can go and you can inspect stuff, right? So if I inspect discarded journal inside remains mostly intact, I scan the pages of use, new database entry, right? There's all sorts of my investigations. Right, letters written between people, other stuff like that. That stuff seems to indicate you're trying to, like, I mean, I don't know. It's clear from the game, right, that human cloning is a reality in this world. So why don't we have human cloning in the game, right? So that's what I was thinking of working on. And also, you see little things like if we ask ourselves what are, let's cancel this. What are duplicates made out of, right? Like RE properties, he's made of genetic ooze, right? This is an actual thing in the game. Genetic ooze, a slurry of water, carbon, and dozens of trace elements, right? Dupe, they're printed from ooze. I expected us to have human cloning tanks somewhere in this game, honestly. Rummage through here. What else is in here? Just water? This is weird. Okay. So I propose biotechnology. Biotechnology could be a lot of things. One is simplifying a lot of the specific critter breeding. Like you would have DNA splicing of critters. You could have critters. You could change the temperature range that critters are comfortable at. You can change their lifespan. You can change what they eat. Right? What type of critter they are potentially. I did a lot of this job mastery stuff off camera, actually. Usually I try and include everything, but I kind of didn't realize the camera was rolling as I worked on some of this stuff. Seasoned farmer. I don't care. So that's why some of these people have jobs when they... Anyways. But biotechnology, right? Biotechnology is something I expected to see in the game. I expected to see human cloning. I expected to see gene splicing, all sorts of stuff like this. And sort of the low-level stuff in this sort of chain that you could have for the biotechnology tech in the game would be things that aid in ranching, right? Because this is another thing, too. The game has always had these sort of parallel development paths that you could take. One where you do a lot of ranching, and that's how you accomplish things. Another one where you build sort of industrial facilities to accomplish things, right? So the industrial facilities is the direction that I usually go. And so, for example, I built all these polymer presses. I built all these metal refineries. We basically have this big defunct industrial area, which we're not really using anymore, to accomplish all that, right? And now it's mostly water storage for our two... I mean, we just have an excessive amount of water with these cool slush geysers. But this is one of the paths that you can take. Just a bunch of machines, and you need to manage sort of the heating cooling aspect of a lot of stuff. The other path you can take is with critters. You can use hatches to do all of your metal refining, because you can turn them into the smooth hatches, which will eat unrefined metals and convert them to refined metals. And you can also generate plastic by breeding glossy dreckos and getting stuff that way. So I'd always kind of expected that one of the paths that you would be able to, like, they would develop this path a little bit more even, and have it so that you could get basically all of your resources through this sort of natural process, right? Through, ooh, this is, actually we can let this all fall down here, can't we? You know what, go ahead and you're allowed to drain. I expected this to be a little bit more of a developed thing, and biotechnology would be part of that. So you'd have gene splicing and sort of genetic experiments on the critters on the map be one of the ways that you can power along that sort of stuff. Let's go ahead and hook these up. And so you would have, in this DLC that I'm proposing, you would have the ability to gene splice a lot of animals. You would have the ability to genetically modify your plants and basically have them consume different amounts, have them have different yields, have them survive in different environments. Right, all of these things are things that you could kind of work towards with your gene splicing, right? I also think this necessitates some sort of resource buildings, right? I don't think you would want to do all this with just what you have in the game right now. I think you would want some new materials to go along with this. You wouldn't need necessarily like a new biome, right? This is something that would be overlaid on top of just the stuff that we have now, and they are also releasing more biomes and whatnot into the game, so we'll have more critters to play around with and more stuff to splice. But it's not something that requires like a new resource in that sense. We don't need, like with the nuclear technology DLC that I proposed, you wouldn't need another biome where you would find your nuclear materials to start up that industry, right? But you would want to make genetic ooze, right? You would want to make genetic ooze an actual thing, and that could probably be where you start. You'd have some building that produced genetic ooze from whatever, right? Maybe it's a combination of water and carbon dioxide. And how do I have this many idle people? I guess I just don't have that much work for people left. Okay. Let me put things on pause and I'll continue talking. So I kind of expected that we would see more of that, right? That we would have that in the game. That the genetic ooze would be more than just, you know, a theoretical thing that exists in the database. Now, I don't know what you would want to make that out of. For balance reasons, there are a lot of things that you could do. I think it depends upon how sort of easy you make the gene splicing, right? If it's really dead simple, once you have the genetic ooze to make all your plants into super plants and all your animals be whatever you want, then you would want to make the genetic ooze be something that's very difficult to obtain. I think you'd want it to be the other way around, that the genetic ooze is easy to obtain and you can obtain it in small amounts to do various things, but all the big stuff you want to do either has like a long progression chain or requires a lot of genetic ooze in order to work. I think that would be the better way to go around it. But then the more interesting thing that I want to talk about is sort of what I would consider the end game of all this genetic manipulation, which is that you'll be able to clone duplicates, right? Like, I think it would be nice to, here we have like the security doors and you say, I guess this one doesn't show it anymore, but you can say submit bioscan, right? And you can have your duplicates go and like submit their DNA to the place. I need to create a little bit more work for our dudes. I think it'd be nice to be able to like scan the DNA of your duplicates, right? And have it so that they can be then replicated themselves. These replications, I think for balance reasons, you wouldn't want a person to actually just be able to clone the duplicate straight up, right? Like that seems a little bit OP. Although having more duplicates isn't necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but it would trivialize a little bit too much about the way the printing pod works and selecting your duplicates and all this stuff. I think I want to set up my medical stuff right around here. Let's go ahead and deconstruct this. Also, have we got all this done? Yes. Okay. Okay. The end goal duplicating duplicants, right? And I think the way to go about it is to have your duplicants that are duplicated in this fashion, give them like a limited lifespan, right? Either you give them some sort of terminal disease, but you make it clear that these are like not actual duplicants, right? These are dupes. Oh, I can't get rid of this one. I'll lose the... I went about this wrong. Yeah, cancel this, cancel this, cancel this. Instead, this is the one we want to deconstruct. Okay. Just to keep ourselves with the right numbers here, but we can deconstruct these as well. Okay. I think having like cloning vats would be really cool, right? Have vats that you make out of, say, I don't know, plastic and glass, fairly two high-end materials in the game, right? Have these vats that you then are able to clone duplicates from. But the trick is that these duplicates wouldn't be kind of like full-on duplicates, right? They would have a limited lifespan of, say, 3 days, 3 cycles. And then after that, they collapse. They turn into, you know, a rot pile or something. But then you could be using these dupes to go and do a lot of your dangerous work. And that also kind of adds potential new parallels to other things going on in the game, right? I think I might need more bedrooms. Let's get this built as well. And let's go ahead and dig out this. And ceramic up over here. Okay. Because a lot of the way that you currently deal with dangerous environments in the game, whether or not they are germy or too hot or too cold or whatever, is you just put your duplicates in exosuits, right? And you have them go and do this work in this area. It'd kind of be fun to have sacrificial dupes as a way of getting around these problems, right? That you can make these duplicate dupes or whatever, and you can specify them to be cold resistant or heat resistant, or you can basically gene splice your own guys. You go and you'll have Stinky give a DNA sample, and it'll make a clone of Stinky, but this clone of Stinky you can also alter and augment and make better. What happened over here? This drained, these did not. That makes sense. Yeah, I need to hook up this, don't I? To get all these to drain. Okay. Awkward, but we'll do it. In fact, before we do that, we can go ahead and deconstruct this one, right? Yeah, get rid of this. And we can also deconstruct any and all of this. All right, perfect. So it gives you another way of dealing with hostile environments, right? And potentially, if kind of as suggested a little bit earlier, we make, this is a suggestion I made for mech suits, if we make comets be more damaging, or introduce some other threat into the game where duplicates take damage, right? Some people want to see more like combat in the game. One of the ways we can introduce that, of course, is by... do I want this hooked up? I guess I do. Sure, ventilation, gas pipe, igneous rock. One of the ways of dealing with that would then be this this cloning process, right? Hook up these. Okay. The cloning process can be what you use to deal with a lot of that, as opposed to having like your duplicates suited up and whatnot. Also works for germy environments. Also works for hot and cold environments, and so on and so forth. We want to start building our thermal regulators, I think. And the plan was to build them like here, right? Is that correct? So I wanted to build here, 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 and just across like so. Yeah. And then we can put up walls. One here and one here. I think we just want to have a smaller area. I think we actually want to block it off like right. Where do I want to block this off? That is a question. I think we'll have the wall be right here. I think it's the plan. Yeah, okay. Let's just build those for now. So you can have like your process for making genetic ooze be linked to having some ranching capability. Like maybe the way that you get the genetic ooze, or a lot of the benefits of going down the path to get the genetic ooze, right? The animal gene splicing and all this stuff. You have that that path be one that doesn't really reward the player who built a lot of the polymer presses and metal refineries, but rewards more heavily the player who went down that alternate path of building a lot of ranches and getting their critters to the right critter type to tackle all those needs for themselves, right? So you can really develop in a further way with biotechnology these sort of two differing tech paths, these two differing play styles, and I think that would be a pretty cool addition to the game. But a lot of it comes down to what you decide to have the genetic ooze made out of. What is the process? Do you need lime, right, from eggshells and whatnot? Do you need, like, is there a key resource that is fought over by these two different tech trees, like in the instance of lime to produce your steel? If so, how are you producing steel with the other way that you're going down, the other road that you're going down? We need to close these off with doors, don't we? Pneumatic doors. Yeah. Priority 8 on this. Growth halted, body temperature. Awkward. Okay. Let's go furniture, flower pot. Set up some flower pots like around here. And we'll just stick some wheezeworts up there. Yeah, and we can go ahead and uproot these. So that's one of the big things that I think that biotechnology can do, is it can take this element that already kind of exists in the game and improve upon it in a really interesting way, right? This differing tech path type of thing. Let's also go ahead and plastic ladder the rest of the way up here. And then we can deconstruct this nonsense. Okay, cool. And let's also get our body temperature where we want it to be by getting some wheezeworts up in here. Okay, cool. Have I gotten all this set? More or less. Right, these are still 96 tiles. Perfect. Okay. I don't have any weird plumbing or anything here, right? Or, sorry, not the right one. Wires. Right, okay, cool. Let's then go ahead and say deconstruct order across here. And across here. And a dig order across here. Minus, say, this one for now. Okay, cool. Printables, what do we got? Diver's lungs, perfect. We actually have 2 diver's lung choices. Do I want unconstructive or tryptophobia? Good question. I think we will take unconstructive. Grab ourselves a nails. Okay. Nice. This should start cooling down. This area eventually. What does this need to be at? This is 31.4. It needs to be down at 30. Okay, that's doable. All right, so biotechnology, gene splicing of the various critters, changing a lot of the properties, what they consume, what environments they live in, what they output, and then leading to ultimately cloning and gene splicing of the duplicates themselves, where you have cloning vats that you make out of, say, plastic and I made this out of window, right? This is window tile. Okay. Yeah, thermal conductivity 80. Perfect. Okay. I kind of want to pump some hydrogen into here. Probably want to pump it from here. Maybe we'll get to that in another episode. Yeah. We want to just spoke off like a little vent here and then have some of more of our hydrogen coming from here. Okay. This is looking good. And then this area will have basically for power. In fact, we can already just give out a dig order. Dig out all this, please. Yeah. Base, tile, granite's fine. Stick a bunch of granite across here. It's a little awkward. That's kind of very awkward. Let's cancel that. We can actually cancel that as well. And just say base tile, granite. Build it across here, please. Okay, cool. These will start to fill up. Yeah, this is all flowing. This 5, 10, this is not enough for all the water, but we're getting there. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, gene splicing of humans, cloning vats for humans, gene splicing of the animals, possibly the cloning of the animals as well. Have like a whole tech progression, tech tree associated with that, right? Bioengineer jobs and so on and so forth. Tie it in with ranching and have the biotechnology sort of pathway be distinct from the normal pathway or the sort of industrial pathway, much in the same way that the ranching is different, right? I think that would be a sort of a design goal there as well. Uproot this and deconstruct. Deconstruct. Yeah. Too many idle dupes. I need to pause for a second here. Also, do I have any germs over here? Not really. Okay, good. Yeah. Have it be a separate pathway. Have it in some ways compete for resources with the industrial chain, so you're not really tempted to go both ways, right? But like, have it so that this is all granite, isn't it? That's why it's not melting. Okay. Okay. Have it compete for resources in some ways, but have like the genetic ooze, this fundamental material that you're going to be using to do all this stuff, right? Have that be like where you really balance a lot of the stuff, right? Like your big time stuff requires a lot of genetic ooze. Your genetic ooze probably requires a lot of ranching or some other activity, right? You can build up a sort of a supply chain, logistics chain that's needed to reach the top levels of what the biotechnology tree can accomplish. And I think that could be really cool. And then having your clone duplicates kind of just have a limited lifespan, right? Like they're programmed to die effectively after 3 days or 3 cycles. Lets you tackle some of the other game's problems in a unique way too, where instead of developing all this containment and developing specialized suits and all this other stuff for the duplicates, instead you can just print out some expendable dupes and run them out there. I think all that would be a nice addition to the game. Let's deconstruct. Yeah, maybe this is where I put my medical facility after all. I could put it here. Let's also just go ahead and add some pneumatic doors though, and before we figure that out. Biotechnology. I kind of been explaining it in a scatterbrained way, but I think it could be a really cool addition to the game. I think it fits with the theme really well. I think it ties into a lot of existing systems really well. I think it really helps emphasize this sort of two tech path type thing that they have here in a minor way, between using ranching to get your next tier materials versus using sort of refinery buildings as your way of doing it. And then I think it can also, the one final point before I close the episode, I think it can interact with your space stuff in an interesting way, right? Because they've already shown a willingness to put new critters in space biomes, right? It's possible that your biotechnology stuff could be, that sort of alternate pathway could continue all the way through space, right? In fact, it could be, in the way that I set up the nuclear DLC, it could be an alternate way for doing that as well, relying on the critters and plants in a big way to generate your nuclear fuel and extra materials. But having like a critter that you bring back from one of these space trips that you then want to bioengineer to get whatever the next stage of material is, could be really cool as well. I'd like that idea of having a whole new play style kind of linked into this ranching play style, and have it be something that that is an alternate to sort of the standard route, or at least what I consider the standard route of metal refineries and polymer presses and the mechanical answer to generating more oil is the oil reservoir as opposed to slicksters, right? There's these parallels everywhere. Biotechnology could really add to that in a big way, and I think that can continue all the way through the space stage of the game and whatever they have planned for beyond that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Biotechnology. I'm going to cut the episode here because I've been rambling a long time, and I'll see you guys next time.